The sky was burning. The clouds red with twisted fire. Lightning moving across them. And they descended upon everything. Like a furious battle between God and Satan, good and evil. Like a fire vortex.
What is up, everyone? We are back for a very special SGL match. Some of you might be catching it right now, others might not. I mean, most of you will be seeing that we are going to have Emerald City RC versus the locals tonight. However, this is not a cup match. This is an SGL Premier League match. And if you look at the top right, you'll see match day 8. Now, most of you guys who are aware would be realizing that, wait, the SGL Premier is having their cup matches this week. So how come they're playing their week 8 match right now? Isn't that supposed to be next week? So teams can play future matches in advance. They don't need to play it on that specific week. And the locals and ECRC came to an agreement to play their week 8 match this week because the locals don't really have too many people available to play a match next week. So they decided to play this week. And as a result, both of these teams will be playing 2 matches. This one, as well as their cup match against their respective opponents. Actually, ECRC is not having a cup match this week. They need to wait for their opponent after this week. So I see why ECRC decided to play this week. The locals will play 2 matches this week, though, because they face up against the Cauldron in the cup after this match. Now, I'm not alone in the commentary booth, folks. With me is the one and the only Rydog of Timber's Army. Rydog, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Maz. I don't know about what the weather's looking like where you're at, but it's beautiful. It's sunny. There's like just a few puffy clouds in the sky. It's like 70 degrees, which is like unheard of for this time of year for Portland. And I just opened a chocolate milk, and we have some SGL Week 8 action tonight. So it's a pretty dang good night, if you ask me.
Hell yeah. Yeah, the weather has been quite surprising here as well, because we've had one of the warmer spring days. Now, we didn't get anything way far above 20 degrees Celsius here, but with the sun out, it felt like it was a summer day. So a lot of people were dressed like it was for the summer, and I certainly felt like I was walking out in a summer day. So a bit of an awkward day in that sense. And, special day, special matchup, right? We have a Week 8 matchup here well in advance. I think ECRC is fine because they have 1 match, but for the locals, they'll be playing 2 matches this week. So do you think this favors the locals in their upcoming match against the KC Cauldron?
I think so, and I think generally they've been on an upward trend. I think they started out Season 9 very slowly, but they've definitely ramped it up. I know last week they took KC to 5 games in week, I guess, is that week 7 Premier Match Day. And so obviously, yeah, they face them in the Cup later this week. So I don't know. I didn't get to watch that match. I should probably go back and watch the VOD just to see, because if was it more KC maybe not being up to their standards, or was it the locals just continuing their upward trend of just continuing to play well? And if it's the latter, then I really think that they have a shot against this ECRC team who reverse swept EM last time they were out, if you remember, Matt. That was an absolute cinema series too. So we've got some up and coming teams here, and it's going to be really tough to call.
Oh, big time. Now, a couple of key things. First of all, that matchup between the locals and KC Cauldron was not streamed. There was no stream when they were playing. So the only way you can catch the action is by looking at the match replays from ball chasing. As for, both teams being on the up, absolutely, and I think it's interesting that they face each other now, because we'll start to see if the locals have any potential to be, a potential contender, because there's still a lot of matches to go, and for them, this is like a litmus test. If they can beat ECRC, I feel like they still have a bit of a chance at the title. But for ECRC, if they win this, they're absolutely in contention for the league title, for sure.
Yeah, Matt, do we have the table? Do you have the table real quick? I know it's top of the hour, we should get going here pretty quick. But yeah. Do you have the league table? Perfect, yeah. So you can see they're not far behind. You can kind of see a kind of a bigger gap there on the left-hand side of your screen, like where you have, Eternal, Rebellion, and Locals kind of there at that bottom-ish. But like you said, Maz, like a win puts them with 4 points, puts them even with Timber's Army on points. And so you start to ask like questions. Of course, for the locals, it is purely in or I should say, it's not in their control. Obviously, they just have to keep winning matches and keep doing their thing if they do want a shot at the title. But that means they are going to need some help from other teams, beating other teams. Obviously here in SGL, each game win is a point, so they might need some sweeps from teams to limit other teams getting points, that sort of thing. Obviously, we're just over halfway into the season, so it's a little hard to see the end right now, but you can kind of start to see maybe a little bit of kind of where these teams are ending up. But yeah, a big result tonight can definitely catapult the confidence going into their cup match, but also propel them the rest of the season.
Big time. And as for ECRC, a win puts them at the top of the table. So, I mean, in a way, this match comes at a perfect time for them because they can put some pressure on the other opponents, KC Cauldron, EM, and Timbers Army in their chase for the title. To answer a question in chat by the Real Plowdry, how many more games in SGL this season? Depends on the tier. The SGL Championship just got past their halfway point. They have a few more weeks remaining. I'm just checking to see how many more weeks they have
10.
left.
I think they have 10 weeks total, right? Because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you play everybody twice. And then Premier, you play everybody twice, so it's the same thing. And so since there's more teams in Prem, there's 12 total weeks in Prem and 10 in Championship.
Yeah, so for the Championship, because it is a shorter season, they have 7 more weeks left. As for the Prem, I believe you're right. It's probably 10 more weeks. You might have counted ahead of time, so I'm gonna trust you, but just to be sure. Yeah, 10 more weeks. Absolutely. So a lot of action for the Premier. The Championship, past the halfway point, going towards the end of the season. And right on, we're still waiting for both teams to enter, so we have a little bit more time to preview things, but I also want to make sure that both teams are ready to go. So whilst I take care of that business, how about you give us a quick preview of how both teams will shape up and how they'll compare against each other?
Yeah, absolutely. You see the 2-4 record for locals there on the right side of your screen. I think it's a little misleading. They opened up the season against us, Timbers Army, and just obviously didn't look that great. I think, or Luis will tell you that Timbers Army is the best team in the league as well. So there's that. But they've actually been on the come up late. Like I said, they've got some good wins there. They also, like I said, took KC Cauldron to 5 games. We're at the top of the table. So, and we've also heard from, I think it was Dr. Aquatic who said it. I could be wrong. Who said that they want to be the gatekeepers. That they still have a shot for the title, but they want to be the gatekeepers. They want to cause the absolute most chaos in the SGL. And then, of course, on the other side, you have ECRC 4-2 sitting at 3rd place right now in the table. And like Maz said earlier, they can jump up to 1st place with a win, or I guess, as they say in F1, provisional pull, if you will. And interesting, I'm going to do some snooping here, not to spoil anything, but ECRC do have their full squad available. I don't know what that means for who's starting and who's not starting and all that, but they do have their 4 players there. And truthfully, they've looked really good with Smashley. He's kind of taken a back seat this season, but he's definitely, plugged the holes when, one of the other teammates has been out for obviously whatever reason. They've looked good with him, and obviously he was in the lineup when they reverse swept EM last week, which obviously is going to give them a lot of confidence going into this match as well. So we'll see how everything turns out as we take a look at the player stats for each player there on ECRC. As you can see, yeah, Smashley not playing the most amount of games, but definitely the most amount of impact there with literally 1 goal per game, a really, really good shooting percentage, the highest on the team, right? And so we'd have to do the math to extrapolate all the data to see how, if he played the same amount of games as Gojo or Toad Death, to see where he would be at in the team, and of course within the league as a whole. But he's obviously been kind of the wild card, if you will, as I'm gonna try and join the lobby here.
Yeah, and it is interesting because they have a full lineup out. You'd think that besides Toad, you would see Smashly playing, right? And then the third would be a rotation between Gojo and Howling Moon, correct?
Yeah, it's kind of odd because like we kind of said last week that the Smashly Toad Death combo. I forget. I think it was me and Debit on the call there last week against EM. They looked really good, and they looked like they'd been playing together all season. The passing plays, I just remember. I think it was Smashly played it up to Toad Death, who just dropped it straight back down. I think we saw that clip on the SGL podcast as well. So yeah, I mean they when they're firing on all cylinders, they're one of the toughest teams to beat in the league. So yeah, we'll see how they fare tonight against locals.
Absolutely. And speaking of the locals, let's just take a quick look at them. No expectations on rotation. They've only had 3 players play consistently. Technically, they do have a 4th player in their squad, but he is nowhere to be seen. So Raid, if you're somehow catching us in the VOD or watching the stream somehow,
we miss you. Come back.
Please do. Yeah, absolutely. And I think you'll be beneficial to the locals as well if you can ever come back and play for this team again. With that said, there will be a roster update window coming up next week. So there's a chance for teams to, add some new players, add some more depth, change things around too. So, I mean, yeah, pretty much what you expect for the locals right here, Rydog. And we're going to be jumping into the match very soon because both sets of players are in. But before we do, give your predictions in the chat. And speaking of the chat, good to see Toad Death coming at the start. I think he's going to be focused on the match, though. Plowdry as well. Good to have you here. I know I answered one of your questions earlier. The Bing Bong Banner Snatch. Here to cheer for ECRC. Good to have you around here as well. And we are going to be starting very soon, folks. So just as we get started, Rydog, predictions, go.
I don't know. I think it's going to be a 4 or 5 game series. I think ECRC takes it. So I know this is a bad take because I really should pick one, but I think it's going to be ECRC in game 4 overtime, or it's going to be a game 5. So I think it's going to be really close. Like I said, we looked at the stats. It's a lot closer than people think given the form of these two teams. So yeah, what say you, Maz?
I think this is going to be a controlled match by ECRC, 3-1 in 4 games as we kick off in Manfield. Here we go, ECRC versus the locals in their Week 8 league matchup.
Yeah, and right off the bat, you see no Toad Death here in the lineup for ECRC, so it's going to be Smashly, Gojo, and Howling Moon to start out with. Obviously, I kind of snitched earlier, Toad Death is in the server and hanging out, so he's available to play. As we see Howling Moon trying to get a drop-down pass, kind of like what Toad Death and Smashly did last week, but I think going this time as ECRC start out on the attack.
Do you expect ECRC to rotate their lineups that much? As they almost could see the goal right there. Great defending, though, by Gojo. Having to rescue the team from Howling Moon's uncomfortable moment. But yeah, do you expect this ECRC side to be rotating against the locals then?
I don't know. As we see Gojo get a shot on target. Meki Ducky was in the back, couldn't quite get the touch that he wanted to save it. So ECRC are going to start out on the front foot. But to really answer your question, Maz, I'm not sure. They're not a squad that tends to rotate all that much. It might just be like a game time decision for them. If there's a player who's thinking, hey, maybe I'm not playing so hot, maybe they stick in a Toad. And obviously that's a really good sub to have on the bench. Toad is obviously one golden striker. Last season had the most goals in the league. So we'll see how things go as we see now the locals on the attack. It's going to be Gojo with the save from Dr. Aquatic. So obviously ECRC get the start they want as far as the scoreboard's concerned, but there's been 2 good attacks for locals.
So far, I'm actually impressed by ECRC's gameplay right here, despite this unorthodox lineup. I don't think I've seen this combination ever, Rydog, but they've been working quite well so far. There's really no guy who's like trying to take over and take control like you typically see whenever Toad Death's in. Like everything, works around him, and he's like the fulcrum for the team. Right now, though, you're seeing all 3 work together very well. No one really taking kind of a dominant role. And I think this is suiting Howling Moon and Gojo so far. But the locals are slowly starting to grow into this. They had a couple of good chances already. Could have had a third, but Meki Ducky looking real awkward right there. And now Gojo goes the other way, trying to solo it in. Couldn't do it. Good defending by Meki Ducky. And now Howling Moon trying to keep this alive, but to no avail. I think Howling Moon or Gojo are thriving in this setup, aren't they, Rydog?
Yeah, I think so. I think they play better, especially Gojo. Play better when just kind of it's more of a free roll, like a traditional center attacking mid in 11v11 soccer, where you can just kind of float and kind of do your own thing. But yeah, I think it's working well so far as you kind of have the defensive prowess of a Howling Moon, who's done really well as a quote unquote third man for this ECRC team, and of course you've got Smashley, who is literally all over the place at all times. So yeah, and that just leaves the comfortability for a guy like Gojo. He, we'll say, gets a back pass over to Smashley, but nothing doing this time. But yeah, this is gonna be awkward for Howling Moon. Can there be a follow up? It's gonna be for Meki Ducky, and Meki Ducky levels the game 1-1. It was super awkward for Howling Moon. I think he jumped way too early, decided to go back down. Oh, and the lovely post. Rocket League fans love the post. Rocket League players love the post, and it's 1-1.
Yeah, that is unfortunate for Howling Moon. I feel the pain right there. I've had those moments come up all too often in various Rocket League games. That is something you don't want to deal with, coming off of the lip of the corner right there. Really unfortunate. Now, to answer a couple of questions in chat and also remark on a couple of things. Nelly asking if this is game 1. Yes, this is. Thank you for answering that in chat, Rydog. Toad Death in chat saying, we don't rotate because we're usually so busy, hinting at the fact that they don't always have 4 players available. So this is probably one of the special occasions where they actually have 4 people available.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, and like I said, all 4 players can kind of fit into this roster really well, right? And I think they maybe change up their playstyle maybe slightly as we see a Smashley bump. That's going to be open. Doughboy couldn't quite get that on target, but once again, the locals have been playing really well, and I don't know if that's just... I know I've said it for since the beginning of time, where ECRC kind of start fairly slow in series, but obviously last week being a perfect example. They lose the first 2 games, but then come back and win 3-2. But locals have looked really good, Maz, kind of over the course of the series. The one thing they're missing is that final finish.
I think they're going to get that because they are starting to create better chances with this ECRC team being on the back foot. I think ECRC thrive when they get more of the ball, and so far they haven't been seeing much of it. Smashley trying to keep it alive in the midfield. Loose ball, Howling Moon to Smashley, off target, off the backboard. Gojo feels backflip, man, and now they need to go back. This is the chance for the locals to get a good opportunity. 50 in the midfield. Meki Ducky, early shot, not that much power. Aquatic, though, keeping it alive. Off the backboard, into the back of the net. With less than 30 seconds to go, the locals take the lead.
Yeah, it's just, once again, it's just super awkward for Howling Moon. I think he thinks he has more time and can kind of let the ball kind of come forward a little bit so he can get a dribble going. But Dr. Aquatic says, not today, sir. And yeah, locals are taking the late lead here in game 1. This game 1 would be a huge win for them confidence-wise and going into the rest of the series. Like I said, Maz, ECRC tend to start pretty slow. So if I had to pick a game that's obviously the most important, I'm going to say game 3. Because obviously they either take a 2-1 lead in the series, they win the series, or they're down to match, or ECRC go on match point, as this one's going to be done and dusted. Dr. Aquatic dunks the ECRC player and Smashley, and the nail is in the coffin. Locals are going to take game 1.
And the real Plowdry in chat was talking about Dr. Aquatic stepping up and having a big match right here. He's had a big game 1 so far, getting the second goal and now the third to seal the deal in this game 1. The locals, despite conceding, come back and get this game 1. I think this is a great start for them too, Rydog.
Yeah, as we see maybe a possible sub or a possible car switch from Howling Moon. He's left the game, so we'll see what happens at that point. And I did want to point out too, there were multiple times in the series I was looking at Meki Ducky in particular being kind of the second man, if you will, on a given play and just not having any boost. So it's a little scary at times for locals in that sense, because of course he's the guy you want to have boost. But Dr. Aquatic absolutely stepping up, the 2 goals late in the game that's going to give them the game 1 victory. It's illegal for ECRC to win a game 1. It might be. It might be. We'd have to go back and look back at the stats to see how many game 1s they've won over the course of the season. It is not a high amount, but I think that it quote unquote, it doesn't really matter because, like I said, they just kind of warm up into series and make, right now during the timeout, they make the adjustments that they need to. and obviously they end up being just fine. Obviously they're 4-2 and doing really well in the league. And Maz, as I keep blabbing and blabbing on, we do have a substitution. It's going to be Toad Death for Howling Moon.
No surprises there. I think with, you can see it in the scoreboard right there. Smashy with 88 points and 0 shots, barely any involvement. You know, that's so unlike him. I think with Toad Death coming in, Smashy's going to be way better off. And Gojo as well, still in the team. I mean, this is the trio that beat El Matador and came back, you know, 2-0 down. So we'll see if this is the lineup that sticks for the rest of this match. Smashy gets a shot off the backboard again. Ducky with a proper reaction to get a big save, and now Doughboy tries to clear it out. Meki Ducky and Doughboy kind of crossing wires, but Aquatic gets it out of the way. Before I continue on Toulon Skyline, good to see you in the chat. Surprised you're not watching the stars, but you probably are. Probably just also hanging out in this chat, so good to have you around here. It is the NHL playoffs right now, so a lot of people are paying attention to that as well. But I'm so happy to have, you know, a good number of people over here for some Rocket League action. Week 8 action, to be exact. Yes, this is a Week 8 matchup being played in advance, just to remind everyone. And as we see right here, ECRC look way, way better now with this trio.
Yeah, absolutely. They've looked a lot more comfortable, and Gojo getting a shilling shot, not quite connecting, but I think it's more so just the pressure aspect. Like, I think last game you saw locals be able to clear the ball just like this, but even one step further and try and get the ball past the last defender for ECRCs. We see Meki Ducky doing Batmobile things, can't quite get around the ball completely. But yeah, this ball hasn't been really in the blue half all that much. It's definitely been in the orange half for most of the game here, as we see Toad Death. Can he get a shot or maybe a pass? No, it's going to be the clippity clop Kentucky Derby winning engine sound of Doughboy getting a clearance.
And I'm surprised that Doughboy decided to boom it back instead of dribbling it out, despite how far back Smashley was. And if you're going to do that against this ECRC side, get ready for a quick fire transition. You don't want to give the ball up like that to ECRC, especially when you're bringing the ball forward. And right now, there's a good opportunity right here for the locals to take the lead. Ball loose in the middle. Smasher gets all the time in the world to pass it out to Toad, who gets beaten by Ducky. Ducky's going to take the shot all on his own, on target, and the locals take the lead, courtesy of Meki Ducky.
Yeah, just sneaks it into the near post. Smashley couldn't really commit. He was kind of flipped the wrong way, and Gojo sitting back post just couldn't get there in time, and locals continuing their momentum from game 1 into game 2 as they take the lead just after halftime, or just before halftime.
Oh, you're good there, Rydog. And you know what? The locals, they feel really confident right now. It feels like at some point towards the halfway point of the season for the locals, they just gained a lot more confidence. They look way, way better, way sharper. Meki Ducky is back at his best with the Batmobile. Aquatic is thriving with the Fennec shot on the line. Toad Death making his impact with a goal in game 2.
Yeah, I'm trying to see who got a touch. It was Dr. Aquatic, almost got the save there. But the shot from Toad off the crossbar and down is going to be just enough, as that lead only lasts about 30 seconds for locals. So we'll see how they can respond as Dr. Aquatic goes for a ceiling shot off the kickoff that goes just wide. But yeah, really good gameplay back and forth as we see, a mistake there from Gojo and the rest of ECRC. Meki Ducky's going to try and pounce, and the free jump from Dr. Aquatic, I love it, doesn't quite work out.
Now, one thing I will say about ECRC and Gojo in particular is the longer this match goes, the better they get. So for ECRC, they need to get this game 2. They need to stretch this match out as long as possible, because the longer it goes, the sharper they become. And we saw it against El Matador. They took it to game 5, and Gojo was having the best performance I've seen from him at any point in his SGL career. I mean, if you want your whole team to thrive, if you're ECRC, you have to win this game 2. You cannot go down 2-0.
No, absolutely, and Maz, I'd even say that maybe they're more comfortable going down 2-0. Obviously, last week they felt just fine, but to your point too, you can see the progression last week. You know, game 1 they lost outright in in regulation. Game 2 they lost in overtime. Game 3 they won in overtime. You know, Game 4 they won in regulation, and then obviously Game 5 they took as well, as Gojo's gonna beat the last man and get the lead for ECRC with under a minute to go.
And Gojo realizes that KJ, the third man, overcommitted. KJ realized that he was not going to make it on time. He was stuck in no man's land with an empty net at the back. Gojo, realizing this, put a quick shot into the back of the net. 2-1 to the locals with less than a minute to go. They could be getting a third. Meki Ducky just gets it out of the way. But this is exactly what Gojo's all about. He's starting to simplify his game a lot more. And when he gets those simple things right, this ECRC team goes to the next level.
Oh, that's 2 now for Doughboy in the series that he's had a clearance, but unfortunately it's gone just wide. The last player for ECRC committing, or I guess Toad Death backflipped on that last play and couldn't quite get the clearance that he wanted. But here comes Dr. Aquatic now with 20 seconds. He's going to get one more touch maybe. It's going to cause some absolute chaos here in the last 15 seconds. That's a rare miss from Gojo. Smashley's going to bail him out as Doughboy's going to get it clear. It's going to go over to Aquatic. Doesn't get the touch. ECRC just have to keep this ball on the ground and in the orange half, and they might do it. 2 seconds. Locals have to do it in the air. Here comes Meki Ducky. Gojo's going to get a really good double touch to get it down. And like you said, Maz, ECRC take game 2.
1-1 in the matchup. This is exactly what Gojo needed. This is exactly what ECRC needed. Again, Smashley just kind of struggling to really get into the match, but with Toad coming in, they look way more stable. They are way more aggressive. They can take control of that midfield with him in the team, and Gojo is starting to thrive as well. So I would not be surprised if they stick with this trio from here, this trio from here on in, because, I mean, I hate to say it, Howling Moon, you're good, but I don't know where you can fit in now.
I mean, yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And so, yeah, you've gotten 4 straight game wins with this rosters. Maz, we might be incorrect here. We might see another sub come out. And I was going to praise Smashley, too, because he might not get a lot of points on the scoreboard, but he does do a lot, obviously, for the team. And he's kind of the glue, if you will, to allow Gojo and Toad Death kind of do what they please. He's kind of like the Rydog of this team where, you know, he might not light up the scoreboard, but you don't really need to do that when you've got a Nelly and a Loy Boy next to you. You just kind of got to fit in where they don't, and things will work out. As are we going to see Howling Moon back? We are. So it's going to be Toad Death, Gojo, Howling Moon. So Toad Death in chat saying they usually don't rotate because they're all busy, but this is kind of a new look for ECRC. Typically only with 3 on their roster, really. And so with the 4th, they're able to rotate. And yeah, we're going to see another iteration right here.
Yeah, and they've been rotating a whole lot now. I mean, every game so far they've rotated for sure. With that said, I do want to focus on the locals a bit as we kick off Game 3 in DFH. 1-1 in the matchup. This feels like a critical game for both sides. But on the locals, one thing I didn't notice, Doughboy trying to be way more aggressive, trying to step up a lot more, but then crossing wires with his teammates. And could that have played a part in that game too, in your opinion, Rydog?
It might have, but actually I was going to highlight Dr. Aquatic as we see Howling Moon.
Oh,
what a save from Meki Ducky to keep it 0-0. Dr. Aquatic had like 400-something points in Game 1. He only had like 180 in Game 2, so I guess maybe the key for ECRC is to keep Dr. Aquatic in check. But yeah, and I think maybe Doughboy is very similar to like a Smashley type player where he's just going to kind of fit in where needed. He's got the mechanical duck. He's got, you know, a Dr. Aquatic in front of him who kind of, they're able to do things. But right now it's Mr. Gojo who's doing things, getting a really good 50 and beating Doughboy the last man. And that's going to be an early lead for ECRC.
Gojo doing it once again. Strong 50 in the middle before lashing out a 71 mile per hour shot and 114 kilometer per hour shot on Alan'sBangersOnly.com radar gun. We love you and miss you, Alan. We hope you could join us once again in SGL. Meki Ducky trying to go for a double tap. Misses. Way too far away from that. And the ball's bouncing awkwardly for K Doughboy. Looking awkward right there. No shot on target, though. He gets away with it. Bit of a shaky start by the locals so far, but you should never count them out either. They've been getting better throughout this season, and they can come back as they demonstrated against the locals. Against Casey Cauldron last week. But this ECRC side might be a different test with a trio from match week 1. Gojo, Howling Moon, and Toad Death. We'll see if they fare better than they did at the start of the season. But so far, a 1-0 lead is the perfect way to begin this game 3.
Yeah, I'm interested to see the chemistry between Howling Moon and Gojo. I know they play a lot of 2s together, and so we'll see how they can kind of fit in as we see a bump off the backboard. Howling Moon does not get the clear he wants, and Gojo doesn't get the clear he wants too. This one's gonna bounce right on the goal line. Howling Moon does really, really well to get this ball. Can he get it over to Gojo? No, but Toad Death is there for the clear. Gojo going up, back to Toad Death. That's the combination, and that's the goal. Gojo and Toad Death combining for a 2-0 lead.
What a passing play right there by ECRC. They didn't need Smashly for that. They have Gojo and Toad Death. Another powerful shot, 74 miles per hour, 118 kilometers per hour. And it's those power shots that are the bane for the locals right now, as they have no answer to ECRC's quick play.
Absolutely, Toad Death's gonna get one off the backboard. It's gonna force Meki Ducky up and away for now. But yeah, the offense is completely stalled out for locals, and I wonder if that's just credit to ECRC just being, you know, maybe having a lot more pressure and not allowing locals to get their attack going. I don't know, Maz, if you've noticed this, but the boost game right now is being completely lost by locals. Howling Moon is going to add a third, and ECRC are rolling.
Guess who's involved yet again? It is Gojo. Not really playing a big part in an assist right here, but making sure that he contributes one way, shape, or form. Just like in hockey, every point counts, so Gojo getting the assist right there. With that said, yes, they are controlling the boost in this Game 3. Unlike the past 2 games, and the locals have absolutely no answer for it. They're trying to be more aggressive, but without that boost, they're just struggling. And sometimes, you know, when you don't have much boost, you try and collect as many pads and you sit in front of the net. The locals are just struggling so far. We'll see if they can recover, because they still have a lot of time. 2 minutes is enough to come back from a 3-goal deficit. But it's now or never for the locals, because if ECRC go up 2-1, I'd say they'd be favorites to win the match for sure. We'll see if Meki Ducky can do anything here with that solo dribble. No, he cannot. He gets bumped away by Aquatic. KJ all alone by himself at the back, trying to clear it out. Another power shot by Gojo. 4-0 for ECRC.
As much as I want to give credit to ECRC, which of course they've looked very, very good in this game, I really think it's just locals beating themselves up. The team bump, as you saw, the boost management isn't there like it was compared to Game 1, and I think ultimately that's what's leading to their downfall. And like I said, I want to give some credit to ECRC for getting the roster right, and obviously Gojo just being, at least in my mind, the man of the match so far. But yeah, just the self-harm, I guess, for locals just needs to stop now if they want to get back in this game and in the series.
We just talk about how much better this trio for ECRC looks. Like in match weeks 1 and 2, they were struggling. This week, they look so in tune with each other. I mean, the mechs are coming out in full force for both the Howling Moon and Gojo. Another powerful shot. Aquatic gets it out. No way! Oh my god, the locals are in a big mess right now. Aquatic clears it out. Why no one is there at the back? Howling Moon puts it into the middle for Toad Death. This is the best ECRC has looked, in my opinion.
Absolutely, and you look at on the replay, look at the boost totals. There's only one player for locals that has boost, but the 2 defending have a combined total of 0. Combined total of 0, and you can't play the game like that. You need boost. You need to be able to do things, and especially, and I was going to mention this, Maz, and you kind of brought it up there on the replay as well. The clearances for locals are just not going anywhere. They're just going straight to an ECRC player. They're just going downfield and losing the ball, just like this. Doughboy, there's nobody up for locals here, as we see ECRC maybe a little bit scrambled, if you will, but they get the 50 in the end. And so it's these team plays that really, you know, set the tone on offense for, you know, any Rocket League team. And right now, ECRC doing what they do best and showing that class that they have of their passing play style. And of course, they're up 5-0.
A lot of good from the locals in the first couple of games, but in this game, they have been second bested by this ECRC side without Smashly as well. Could this be the game where ECRC announced themselves as title contenders. Because, Rydog, this is the best I've seen ECRC play.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they're going to make another substitution, I think they just want to get as many different looks as possible. And honestly, frankly, right now, given what I saw from the locals, I don't mind it. I mean, the locals really had nothing on offense. I mean, they had 4 shots, but I don't know about you, Maz. I don't remember a single one. And if they were, it was just like a distant shot that was easily saved, from an ECRC player. But no, it's going to be a car switch from Gojo. He kind of baited us there a little bit. But yeah, I mean, ECRC firing at all cylinders. This is what I mean by they start slow in series. They really like to take game 1 and maybe some of game 2 to try and figure out, hey, what is this other team bringing in? How do we counter that? How are we playing? How can we adjust? And I've always said it as well that they are the kings of mid-series adjustments. And so, yeah, it's not surprising they took a 5-0, this game 5-0. And, of course, for locals, yeah, how do they bounce back? How do they get that game 1 magic back?
Well, I think for them to get their performance back to the requisite level, they need more touches from Aquatic. I think when he gets more involved, the locals look way better. Right now, it's just Meki Ducky doing a lot on his own. And unfortunately, the ECRC are exploiting that. They're forcing Meki Ducky to use up a lot of his boost from what I could see. And that means everyone else is trying to overcompensate, and then they run out of boost as a result. And at the end of the day, there's just not much remaining. And this is going to be tough because ECRC have decided not to rotate their lineup in this game 4. But there's a chance for the locals to get the first goal. Meki Ducky just couldn't get the right touch at the end. And ECRC get bailed out. And so far, Rydog, that was the best chance for the locals to really put some pressure on this ECRC side.
Absolutely, as we see Meki Ducky, can he get a pass over to somebody or do a solo play? Here comes Meki Ducky, ground pinch. No, it's going to go right to Gojo in the end. But yeah, maybe that's a little bit of a confidence boost for locals here. They definitely need it as Meki Ducky's starting to cut rotation, start to play a little bit faster in that Batmobile. And I think that's going to bode well for them over the course of this game, if they don't overcommit.
And once again, we're seeing a double commit. KJ and Aquatic crossing wires this time. Aquatic, though, gets away with it and is able to bring it out from the back, dribbling it on the roof of his car. Gojo beats him. Doughboy to Aquatic, gets intercepted by Toad. Meki Ducky looking awkward, the ball's loose in the middle, and Howling Moon gets the first goal. And the locals, once again, once they get in trouble, ECRC smell blood in the water, and they take advantage.
Yeah, I think Meki Ducky wanted to just tap that over to the corner, but instead just plays it right to Howling Moon, who says thank you very much. And once again, it's going to be an early lead for ECRC here in this pivotal game 4. Maz, your prediction here is on the line. If ECRC can get it done, then your prediction is correct.
Locals need a goal right here, and I'm not just saying it superficially. I mean, if they concede a second, I think their confidence is just going to go down the drain. Doughboy in trouble. Stop at the far post. Gojo sees a big gap at the near post, puts out a powerful shot, 64 miles per hour, 102 kilometers per hour on AlensBangersOnly.com radar gun. And this spells huge trouble for the locals right now.
Yeah, they have to stop the bleeding, and they have to stop it fast. But frankly, Maz, other than those kind of first 2 chances over the course of the opening kickoff, they haven't really given me much. As Meki Ducky finally gives me something. It's going to be a super, super long clearance goal, but honestly, you'll take it if you're the locals. And Maz, is that the start that they need to get back in this series?
Every goal matters, Rydog, no matter how good or bad it is. And for the locals, that was a badly needed goal. For the first time, we see ECRC looking a bit disheveled at the back. Gojo as the third man, just not ready for that long shot. Meki Ducky gets one back for his team. Once again, it's Meki Ducky, by the way, who drags this team back from the brink. But not for long, as Toad Death replies with a third goal for ECRC.
Yep, 1s and 3s on the scoreboard. Dr. Aquatic doesn't get the clearance, doesn't get the touch, and Toad Death playing the miss gets the goal. Maz, it's funny, if we had more gameplay, I was going to say the next goal is really what matters. And because locals have felt like maybe they got back into this game a little bit, but that goal from ECRC might have just killed all confidence. But obviously, there's plenty of time left. There's still 3 minutes left as we see a really good touch from Meki Ducky. It's going to be one more for Gojo.
Oh,
It's off the
no.
post, and Toaddeath is going to clear. Was that the moment for Locals to get back in this game again?
I wonder if Toad's presence threw off Ducky, because Toad did really well to recover back into the goal line, and Meki Ducky had to place that after an insanely good solo dribble. Oh, you'd think that was it for them, but a second chance, Toaddeath with a clutch clearance, just as Meki Ducky was there for the dunk attempt. And now it's ECRC's turn to pile the pressure. Ball in the middle, Toaddeath whiffs. Gojo decides to go back. Aquatic takes it out wide. He needs to get a second touch to create a good chance, but Howling Moon takes over. Meki Ducky off the ceiling, off the backboard. Doughboy and Aquatic are both committed. And the ball is loose, but nobody from ECRC takes advantage, and the Locals get away with that. 2 minutes to go, Rydog. This has been a chaotic sequence right here.
Absolutely, as Howling Moon's gonna hit it off the crossbars. There a follow from ECRC. It's coming from Toaddeath. That net is open, and is that the nail in the coffin? I mean, you have to go back to that Meki Ducky dribble, right? That's a goal swing right there. And unfortunately, it doesn't go the way of Locals. And yeah, that overcommitment as well from Doughboy and Aquatic. And Maz, I think you put it perfectly kind of over the first part of this series, that they've just been kind of stepping on each other's toes. The comms haven't been out all that well, and it's just allowed ECRC to pounce on the Locals' mistakes. And once again, Maz, I said it before, it's a little bit on ECRC. I think they've played very, very well in this series, but it's a lot of just self-mistakes coming out from Locals, and ECRC doing what they do best in pouncing.
This whole time, Rydog and chat, I've been shaking my head because there were so many good moments for the Locals to come back. Once again, they have a chance to go for a proper shot, but Doughboy was just hesitating, probably looking for the perfect pass. And it's that little bit of hesitation that allowed ECRC to get back. Meki Ducky trying to do it all on his own again. Couldn't get the dunk. Doughboy following it up, off target, towards Gojo, who pops it up. Meki Ducky tries to keep that alive. Aquatic, for some reason, committing as well. Trying to look for a bump at the end, but to no avail. And now the whole team needs to go back. Oh my goodness, it's just, they almost had it, and I think now they're losing control of this game yet again. And they need the control. Doughboy going for a demo, but he cannot get Howling Moon out of the way.
And that net is open again. Gojo can't quite get it in time, but Toaddeath is going to keep the pressure on for ECRC. Yeah, Locals have not given me anything to give me hope, and that might be the dagger. Toaddeath, honestly, I think that was actually a pass, but it's just going to find its way in nonetheless. It's 5-1 in Game 4, and yeah, Maz, that might do it.
Game, set, and match. I think this is a bit too much for the Locals, a bit too high a mountain to climb for them. 30 seconds remaining, 4-goal deficit. They need a goal right now, basically, and this is not looking good for them. Oh, man, it feels like they just tried to match ECRC's game, and it just didn't work out for them. Because ECRC just beat them. Oh, my goodness, insane effort there from Toad. Off target, though, barely. And, yeah, this is game, set, and match as we count down the final 10 seconds of Game 4.
Yeah, Gojo, can he get the flip reset goal? It's going to go in the end. It's going to be 6-1 ECRC, but yeah, I mean, once again, I want to give some credit to ECRC because I think they have been the better team, and I think they still do win this series. But yeah, Locals, after that Game 1, just have not looked the same, and I'm kind of hoping, Mags, we get an interview from them just to see maybe if they have some insight on what happened, if maybe they think it was, you know, something internal, or if maybe they thought that ECRC was just that good. But yeah, obviously, like I said, credit to ECRC, but fairly disappointing if you're a fan of the Locals.
Absolutely. I mean, let's not take anything away from ECRC. They were absolutely amazing. The only reason I'm talking about the Locals in this manner is they had the chance to put some pressure on this ECRC side. Take it to Game 5 potentially. But they just weren't able to make their chances count when it mattered. And just like against the Locals in Game 5 last week, they just lost control and they conceded a ton of goals, and that was it. It was just game, set, and match all over for them. Rydog, the Locals look good, don't get me wrong. But they just kind of burned out towards the end, and ECRC took advantage. You know, I mean, the locals had a good start, then they burned out. ECRC, slow start, came back into it and just looked really dominant at the end.
Yeah, they did. And obviously, like I said, you got to give them credit because they once again showed in this series why they are a top 4 team or now even a top 1 team, if you will, provisional poll status for the boys from Seattle. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think, Maz, you and I both knew how this was going to end, just ECRC just kind of flexing their muscles just a little bit on locals. But like I said, for locals, there's positives to take away from this. In the first game and even the first part of the second game, you are battling with top 3 teams in the league. They just need to kind of keep the train going, or if the train starts to go off the rails, try and figure out how it's getting off the rails and kind of fix those things, because I felt like when ECRC got on the tear, kind of, especially in that game 3, it was just kind of over from there.
I agree for sure. It just looked like they had the control in game 1. And then they tried to up the ante, up the pressure, and then they just lost control. And ECRC, they grew into it. They choked the life out of the locals, took all the boost away, and really punished them for overcommitting for the most part. Also, let's give credit to Gojo and Howling Moon. Both were absolutely spectacular in the whole matchup, showing off their mechs fully, showing off their gameplay. Just like in the past couple of seasons, Gojo does take a while to get going, but once he gets going, he is unstoppable. And right now, I would say Gojo is putting himself up as contender for MVP this season.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine, Maz, if he's performing like this, since week 1? I mean, this might be a super hot take, but ECRC might be clear top of the table if that's the case. So, obviously, yeah, they've looked good. And so, yeah, we're going to have some interviews now. We're going to have Mr. Smashley come in first time. He might be joining us here shortly. There he is. Mr. Smashley, congrats on the win. How are you feeling?
Pretty good that the team's finally jiving. We were trying something different this week that we haven't done, I think, the whole season, which is like mid-series substitutions. And then as soon as that game 3 happened, they were like subbing me back in for game 4, and I'm like, you just 5-0'd him. Like, no. You guys just keep going.
Yeah, I wondered if that was an audible Smasher, because you guys were rotating consistently, trying to every combination possible. Would you say that after game 3, you felt like, that is the best ECRC you've seen personally this season?
Yeah. I think it's the best that I've seen that combination. So, I mean, that's like our 3 regular starters, and like we've had some availability issues the last like 3-4 weeks, but we also haven't lost since week 2. But like, preferably like those are the 3 that are going, because I'm just a little old champ 2 that's basically a champ 1 these days.
I mean, you say that, but you are one of the better players, Smashley, and Rydok can attest to that as well. Every time you've been playing in the past few weeks, this ECRC team has looked really good. And I'd say you played a part in, the reverse sweep as well last week, so don't sell yourself short.
Yeah. Yep. I will take all those compliments.
Smashley, you're literally the Rydog of this team, where you don't put up a lot of numbers on the scoreboard, but you seemingly do the things that you need to do. Obviously, you've taken a back seat this season and kind of letting Toad Death, Howling Moon, and Gojo do their thing. Like, I guess how do you feel about that? Are you cool with taking a back seat? Like, how do you feel about those 3 guys and their performances?
Oh, Moon is like a ridiculous player. Like he was pretty rusty by his own admission. When we were kind of gearing up for week 1, and very quickly got back to GC, I think in like 2 or 3 game types. So, I mean, those 3 are preferred. I don't know that they have it's not a well-oiled machine yet. So like, if you were to ask me, would, Smashley, Toad, and Gojo beat Toad, Moon, and Gojo, would those 3 beat Smashley, Toad, and Gojo? And like, I don't know right now, but once the 3 of them like really start clicking, like that's the clear choice.
no, Smashly, now that you've seen that trio play, do you think you're going to rotate more in future matches, or are you going to maintain some semblance of consistency? I mean, because, in recent weeks, you've been there with Toad and with Gojo and or Howling Moon coming in, and you guys looked really good. But now, you have Howling Moon and Gojo working together well with Toad. So are we going to expect more rotations in the future, or are you guys going to try and stick to a main three?
That's definitely the main three. And I think that we'll just roll with that unless, we go down too early, then maybe I'll rotate in. Yeah.
Do you feel, since you've taken kind of more of a backseat this season, do you kind of feel maybe less pressure, or maybe, not as many chips on your shoulders, kind of filling into, like a last week against EM, or even like a game or two here tonight?
I think I was just kind of feeling burnt out on Rocket League in general. And I don't think I opened the game for like 3 months recently, but so I think it was just more like burnout and fatigue more than anything. And probably related, I bought my first Nintendo Switch around the same time, and I've just been grinding Breath of the Wild lately, so that's probably related.
Fair.
Speaking of grinding, though, like, imagine barely scraping by a Division 2 team as an MLS team.
Bro, don't even give me that. That's major copium. Don't even give me that. I was being so nice and not bringing it up, but he's bringing it up.
Anyways,
Anyways.
So this was a special arrangement between the locals and ECRC. You guys agreed to play this in advance. How did this come out? How did this come together? Like, how'd you guys get this arranged in such a manner that you could play like a week before most teams would play their Week 8 game?
That is a Captain Toad question. I'm told when to show up, and that's all I know. But so Toad said we're playing Wednesday 7 p.m. and I rearranged my entire life. I'm, by the way, exhausted from last night when the Portland Timbers barely scraped by the Tacoma Defiance. But I did show up today, and I played like ass for the first 2 games. So yeah, I don't know. That's more of a Toad question, to be honest.
Well, okay, you know what? Let me change it up then. We'll see if Toad responds in chat to that question. But something slightly different. Next week, you guys won't have a matchup to really play. So are you guys going to take a break from the game, or are you guys looking to play a different match in advance next week?
Oh, no, I'm going to tell Toad right now, actually, live on stream, that he needs to throw up the schedule document that he creates every week, and we need to get a bunch of practice in next week, because we need to stop losing game ones the entire season. Like, on the one hand, it's kind of cool that like we lose game 1 every week, and then we adjust to that and figure it out. But like, it would just be nice to win game 1 for once. I think we've been in SGL for 4 or 5 seasons, and I think our game 1 loss rate is like 97%.
Do we have an SGL like direct? Because that would be such a fun stat to try and figure out. I don't know
we'll have
if
to check out for sure.
It's not that high. I do know it's tradition that we lose our week 1 matchup every season. I think we've done that every single season.
It just takes you, a game usually in each series, and then it usually takes you a week to get into the full season. So, hey, it's just on brand. You're just staying on brand. It's all good. It's all good.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, Smashly, we're gonna kind of give you the floor now, and then we'll let you go. But yeah, once again, congrats on the win.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I don't think I've been interviewed in quite a while. It was a fun series. It's fun kind of taking a back seat and seeing two games of just total dominance there at the end. And yeah, I hope to be back in a couple weeks when we do our next game.
There you go.
Heck yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us in the interview booth, Smashly. Congrats on the win. And, enjoy the break, or I guess grind out and get more of those games in next week, depending on how you guys set that up.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Hey, take care. Have a good night. And there he goes, Rydog. Smashly enjoying that win against the locals, 3-1. And I think it's a good time to just take a quick look at the standings to see what the effect is. And as you can see, once we refresh the schedule, there you go. ECRC are now at the top of the table, although they have played an extra match now compared to the rest of SGL, except for the locals, of course.
Yeah, like I said, provisional poll. I think this is exactly where they want to be. If you're a Seattle fan or an ECRC fan, of course, the tone at the top, right, is you at the moment you control your own destiny, right? When we get into like the week 10s, week 11s, week 12s, obviously, of the SGL Premier season, that's when things kind of start getting out of your own hands, or could potentially get out of your hands. And so obviously it's these weeks, these middle weeks, where it can be the tough stretch of the season to kind of grind out wins. It's easy to kind of forget and it kind of just it's fine, whatever, we'll just win next week and make it up. No, these are the points that matter. And so obviously it's good for the ECRC boys to stay up there. And of course, like you said, they do have a game in hand. So, but obviously winning all the series that are in front of you is the best way to stay at the top or get to the top.
Big time, and this puts pressure on the locals and El Matador, as well as your team, Timbers Army, because now they have a 5-point gap against compared to you guys. So even if you guys win, you will be 1 point behind them. So bit of catch up to do, for Timbers Army, but you guys are still in the race. Unfortunately for the locals, they're now 8 points behind, and they're slipping further and further back, but they are in that nice spot in 5th as that gatekeeper team in the SGL Premier.
Yeah, like I said, they have the ability to do it. They obviously took KC to 5, like I have mentioned a few times on stream now, and so if that just, and of course we'll have to go back and watch the ball chasing to see if if that was locals popping off, or was that KC maybe not playing up to their potential. But I mean, like you said, they're in a good spot in 5th to just play the gatekeeper role. And like I said before stream, and as you've mentioned, like Dave even wanted to play that role as kind of things shake it out of, hey, like, we're going to be a tough team to play, but and you're going to have to beat us. This is not going to be like a walk in the park, if you will, when other teams play local. So yeah, like I'm hoping that they can kind of fix some of the things that we saw tonight, because I don't think that's a true indicative of play of how they are really. And so yeah, we'll see them actually, funny enough, later this week when they take on KC again. A little bit different. It's going to be in the cup tournament, but we will see them again later this week.
Big time. And speaking of the cup, we'll be getting to that in a bit, just to give you guys a bit of info about the matches that are scheduled for this week. With that said, I do want to highlight a couple of things in chat. Toe Death, first of all, saying, I can't wait to hear how Debit puts us at 4th again. I'm not sure if that was Debit, Toad. I think that was Stephen P. Smith coming out with a super hot fire take. Trying to be controversial for the sake of being controversial, because it absolutely makes no sense to put you guys at 4th. Really, it makes no sense. And you know what? I'd say Luis putting you guys in number 1 makes more sense, because you guys are looking really, really good. Actually, no, he put you guys at number 1. He put Timbers Army in number 1, right, Dog? Sorry. Who put ECRC in number 1? It was Debit, wasn't it? Debit put ECRC at number 1, if I remember correctly, no?
We'd have to go back and look, but no matter the case, I mean, ultimately, this is the copium answer. The power rankings don't matter, and honestly, I hope it feels good, Toad, that to prove all of the SGL podcasts wrong. If you guys keep winning games. And I think Smashley said it in his interview too, and we've kind of known this from the table and stuff. They started 0-2 and have won 5 straight. So power ranking wise, they should be 1 or 2 probably given their form. Their last loss was to us in week 2. So obviously they're a much different team. They obviously took us to 5, and they've been just a completely different team since then. Obviously, like I said, winning 5 straight games. So given that, I probably have ranked them too low as well. They should be 1 or 2 for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think we'll see what next week's power rankings look like when we get there. For now though, let's go into the cup tournament bracket, because folks, we will have 2 3 matches being played out for the Cup tournament. 2 of them this week, 1 of them next week. Yes, special case coming up yet again. But first, for this week, we have EM versus Timbers Army and the Locals versus KC Cauldron. Both of them will kick off tomorrow. Yes, we are having yet another Thursday stream full of action. So be sure to join us. This will be a bit of a late stream. I think the first matchup will start at 10:40 Eastern, 7:40 Pacific. Yeah, a bit of an awkward start time, but late start nonetheless. In the second match.
Yeah, and then I was just about to say we're just trying to settle that right now. I think I threw out 8 p.m. Pacific time for that game, so we'll see if the EM boys like that time. But yeah, we might have to do like a little picture-in-picture or a little. I might have to do some stream or something like that. Yes, Caesar, you do hear some Thursday night ball, but it wouldn't be Thursday night ball without you. So I hope you can play. But yeah, so as of now, tentatively Thursday at 8 Pacific time, 11 Eastern for that one.
Yep, absolutely. So we have one confirmed, the Locals versus KC Cauldron, 7:40 Pacific, 10:40 Eastern. We're still waiting on EM versus Timbers Army, which might kick off a little bit later. And then EC Eternal versus the Rebellion is the special case that I hinted at earlier. They're going to be playing next week on Tuesday. And they've been granted the special exception because the Rebellion don't have to be available this week. And they don't have to be available until Tuesday. Actually, no, they do have to be available on Monday, but EC Eternal don't have their availability set on that day. So, to be fair to both sides, they will be playing their match on Tuesday. They just need to decide on the time, and once we get the time, that will be the matchup that will be played on Tuesday, and we will have our lower bracket filled up and ready to go for the next round, which will be played out in 2 weeks' time. So there you go. Just as a quick recap for the schedule for the Cup matches. The Locals versus KC Cauldron tomorrow, 10:40 Eastern, 7:40 Pacific. EM versus Timbers Army tomorrow as well, kicking off a little bit after Locals versus Cauldron. We don't know exactly when. 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern is the tentative time. EC Eternal versus the Rebellion next Tuesday. And that should be that for the Cup matches. Now, we also have a couple of SGL Championship matches coming up this week. Axe and Rose vs. Steel Army scheduled for Sunday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. BNG Old Timers vs. Los Verdes still to be scheduled. That's looking likely to be on Friday, though. So we'll see how that gets scheduled. We'll see when that happens. And that about wraps it up for us tonight. Rydog, any last words before we end the stream?
No, thank you all for tuning in to a really good match that we had tonight. Of course, congrats again to ECRC for taking the victory in 4 games. And for Locals, obviously starting strong, but just need to kind of tweak some of those mid-series adjustments if they want to, keep competing with the best teams in the league. And yeah, be on the lookout in the Discord for the announcements for the official game times. Obviously, Matt just ran through them as well, but yeah, we should have some exciting Rocket League in the pipeline for the community here in the next week too. So yeah, it's a good time to be tuning in if you're an SGL fan.
Absolutely, and GG's to everyone. Gojo, I see you in the chat. GG's, dude. Gojo is the honored one RL in the chat, by the way. So GG's to everyone. Congrats to ECRC for the 3-1 victory over the Locals and for sitting at the top of the table up until next week, depending on how the results go, of course. Have a good night. Thank you to everyone who joined in the chat. Thank you, Rydog, for joining me in the commentary booth. As always, much appreciated and much love to you for that. And yeah, that's it. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Peace.